Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we're going to step back and take a look at what was one of my favorite childhood mangas and animes. In fact, this was the first one where one of the few that I actually watched the anime first and then got into the manga. But it's Yu Yu Hakusho, the classic 90s manga about the boy who came back to life and became a spirit detective. And this was actually one of my formative anime, as it were. It was the very first anime I ever wrote fan fiction for, and this was why I started actually reading the Shonen Jump physical hard copy that fortunately one of the local libraries had. That gives you an approximate time range for when I was enjoying this. Now, as if you're listening to this channel, there's a good chance you've already heard the news that Yu Yu Hakusho is getting a Netflix live-action adaptation. Now, this was very revelatory to me. I did not realize I actually cared so much about this anime and manga until I was faced with Netflix doing another butcher job on it. Now, I have heard good news. I haven't confirmed this, but from the other YouTubers that I follow, it sounds like this is going to be an all-Japanese team. It's being headed by people who really love and respect the original material, but even knowing all of that, my first reaction is just, why? The anime is a classic. I don't see how it could be improved. And I definitely don't see it being improved or even really expanded upon by a live-action adaptation. Of course, the answer is money. Netflix thinks that they'll be able to recoup their investment with a profit by remaking this anime. Maybe they'll be able to get in another audience. And dollars and cents, if they do a good job and tell the story well, there's a good chance they could. But I don't I don't know that much about movie making. And I know ghost effects are one of the oldest effects in cinema. So they probably have a fairly inexpensive, hopefully it's inoffensive, way of doing these animations. But let's just look at the first couple of episodes. Yusuke literally spends the entire episodes floating around and flying around with Botan trying to get back in his body. So how are they going to do that on a Netflix budget? Then once the combat starts, once you have to start animating the ray gun and Hiei's speed and Kurama's plant weapons, how are they going to CGI that with any level of acceptability within a Netflix live action adaptation budget? It's just, But you know what? Visually, even if it's visually a mess, I think I could stand it. It's a ghost story, it's cheesy, it's corny, but the core of Yu Yu Hakusho, in my opinion, was always the story, specifically the relationships between the characters. Yusuke Urameshi is one of those Dragon Ball Z types characters, one of those Goku characters who has an effect on everyone around him. And there were some really, really good characters. Yusuke himself is sort of we went on to explain later in the series, when Koenma was explaining his reasons for choosing him, is sort of almost a morally neutral character. He has good impulses, but he can also be pretty ruthless. And he lacks that moral absolutism that was such a huge problem. Oh, spoilers for a 30-year-old series. He lacks the moral absolutism that was such a problem with the previous spirit detective. Then you have the kid who he didn't know was his friend, Kuwabara. Now, Kuwabara is the one I'm especially worried about. Kuwabara was a man's man, a young man who grew up in a tough situation, but was trying to align himself with the universe in the spirit of classic chivalry. And he's very much a chivalric character. He can be very violent and very destructive, but he has a very sensitive, reactive soul. He's tender and gentle with kittens, and he's respectful of his sister and takes care of the women and the girls in his school. Again, he's this very masculine, manly, chivalric character. That is his entire thing. And I'm terrified that Netflix is going to especially ruin that character. Now, Hiei on the surface is a bit simpler. He's out for him. He's the classic scoundrel with maybe not a heart of gold, but somewhere down there he's got a heart. And he definitely has his own sense of morals and values, and he'll stick to them. And then you, of course, have Kurama, who is... Well, Kurama's a bit harder to define. He's very much a reformed character, but he's, in his interactions with his human family, he's soft and gentle, and he's generally soft-spoken and mild until the cards are down, and then he's completely ruthless and efficient, looking to get the fight over with and get out of there. Anyway, the way these four characters react, the way they grow on each other and interact with each other really was the core of the series to me. And this kind of masculine friendship is exactly the kind of thing that Netflix just seems to, well, despise, really. And they seem to, like, if not actively sabotage it, massively bungle it in everything. So I do not have high hopes for this production. And of course, we've seen the casting images, and I really did not like them. Now, that's not saying much. I'm on the Asperger's spectrum, and the reason that I still really enjoy cartoons at my age, one of the main reasons, is the simplicity of the designs. And any live action adaptation is always repulsive to me when I first see it. I've got to adapt to it. And even given time to adapt these new images, I really did not like them. And I have a sort of unique reason to not like each one, but it kind of boils down to noses and hairlines. So if you look at the Yusuke character, that actor's he's got the pretty good face shape for it. Seems to have the attitude right as well. But the hairline, the widow's peak on Yusuke, is his primary defining character visually. When you have these manga characters, the creators put a lot of thought and effort into the hairstyles. This isn't a small part of their character. And they could have easily put on a toupee or CGI'd it in, but without that widow's peak, he just looks wrong with that massive broad space of forehead showing. Then you have Kurama. Again, the face shape is solid, and the nose is the right length, and the eyes are good, the mouth is good. It's a little bit long, his face from chin to forehead, but oh my goodness, that wig is awful. Why did they choose a maroon color palette? Hopefully they'll have something better when they actually acting, but that is just so obviously a wig. And again, these are their promotional images. These are them trying to put their best foot forward. Why that image? Hopefully it will be better in the series, but ugh. Then you have Hiei, and this one I knew right from the bat what was wrong with it. This actor's nose is way too long, and his entire face from chin to forehead is just way too tall. Hiei was a very round, wide character, especially in the face. Then and then for Kuwabara, pretty much the only issue I have with that casting, again, it's the hair, that distinctive, I don't know what you call it, pompadour, that is the classic imagery of the wannabe tough guy in Japanese culture. Now, this one, I think they might have a legitimate reason for not giving him the classical hairstyle, mainly because what constitutes as a grade school tough guy may have changed, and the imagery of that created in 1990 by the mangaka might not convey the same meaning, and might be more of an old person thing by now, because our cultural understanding of what constitutes a grade school tough guy does change over time. Whereas the rest of the issues are more universal. The width of a character's face, whether or not their hair looks real, or is obviously a wig, and whether or not you have a widow's peak, those aren't really cultural or things that you can change, or that a young boy would be thinking about changing in his appearance anyway. Now, this video has already gone on for much longer than I intended. I cannot bring myself to be hopeful about this series, and I would like to give thanks ahead of time to those of you who are going to take one for the team, take the hit, and be the first to actually watch the episodes. I will be looking forward to your reviews eagerly, because if it's decent, yeah, I'd actually be, if they manage to get that core relationship dynamic down, I'd be really interested in watching this, no matter how cheesy and bad the effects are. I can eventually learn to overlook bad effects, but especially if they mangle the relationship between Kuwabara and Yusuke, I'm just not going to be interested. So thank you for going ahead and watching this for us, to whomever that's going to be. I look forward to your reviews. What do you think, my wonderful viewers? Hit that. Tell me what. Do you approve of the casting? Am I being too persnickety, griping about hairlines? Tell me what you think in the comments below the video. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers. Humans are weird. We took a vote, and humans are weird. I have the data. 2 books in a series of human absurdity. Go check out these short story collections. What will our little green friends think of us when we finally do make it to space? Find out the answer in 2 books of human absurdity. Humans are weird, we took a vote, and Humans are weird, I have the data. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Google Play.